Honourable member for Foothills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to congratulate you on your reappointment to the seat. Congratulations. And I will be sharing my time with the honourable member from Haliburton, Kawartha Lakes and Brock. Mr. Speaker, this is my first full speech in the House since the election. I want to take this opportunity to thank the people of Foothills for once again electing me as their Member of Parliament. It is truly an honour to have earned their confidence of the hardworking people of Southern Alberta, and in turn, I will work hard each and every day to represent them honourably, passionately, and ethically. But most of all, Mr. Speaker, I want to ensure Canada remains the best place to live, work, and raise a family. To that end, I was incredibly disappointed listening to the speech from the throne in December. The speech from the throne should bring forward enthusiasm, optimism, and hope for all Canadians. I must say in this regard, the government's speech from the throne failed. The government neglected to address key issues which are the heart of what matters most to Canadians: jobs, growth, and the economy. Over the past several weeks, I have spent time touring my riding, speaking to community leaders, municipal councils, families, business owners. And for the first time in a very long time, the mood in Alberta is not one of enthusiasm, optimism, and hope. No, it is one instead of anxiety and fear. And this government's speech from the throne did nothing to alleviate those concerns. It did not even mention two key pillars of Canada's economic foundation: agriculture and our energy sector. As a rural Albertan, I was shocked to see the government did not set out any plans, any priorities to grow and support these important resource sectors. These resource sectors that employ many Canadians, many Albertans, especially in my riding of Foothills. For example, Mr. Speaker, more than 2.2 million Canadians work in the agriculture and agri-food sector. That means 1 in every 8 Canadian jobs rely on this industry. And more importantly, I would argue, the vitality of almost every rural community in Canada does as well. If a government's priorities include growing the economy, creating jobs, and strengthening the middle class, does it not make sense then that Canada's agriculture industry must be a priority of this government? Canada is the 5th largest agriculture exporter in the world, and our agriculture industry contributes more than $100 billion to our GDP each and every year, and that number continues to grow. Exports in 2013 reached $46 billion, a 6% increase from 2012. Statistics Canada predicts the average net worth of the family farm is expected to reach an all-time high in this year of $2.1 million. And total family farm income has steadily increased and is predicted to reach $135,000 in 2015. So why then is this government not doing everything it possibly can to facilitate further growth in this industry? Ways such as supporting the Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement, among the largest trade agreements in the world's history. This landmark agreement will preserve Canada's privileged access to our largest trading partner, the United States, and strengthen our partnership within NAFTA. Canada is a significant global supplier of high-quality agricultural products, I would argue the best in the world. And through the Trans-Pacific Partnership, Alberta's farmers and ranchers will now have access to 800 million new customers, unprecedented market access, which will give them wonderful opportunities in existing and new emerging markets. You see, Mr. Speaker, our farm and ranch families are successful because they are well-educated. They are innovators, inventors, conservationists, and entrepreneurs. Most of all, they are hardworking, and they expect to have a government that is working just as tirelessly to provide them with a regulatory framework that will allow them to compete on the world stage. With more than 200,000 operating farms in Canada, it is clear the family farm remains a critical foundation to Canada's economy. Instead of ignoring Canada's agricultural industry, the government should be creating new economic opportunities for Canadian farmers by opening and expanding our markets around the world. The Liberals should be aggressively pursuing new markets for our producers while protecting supply management, investing in cutting-edge agricultural and agri-food industry and technology, ensuring an effective and efficient transportation system is in place, and keeping our taxes low. By increasing trade and ensuring producers have access to a global market, we are creating more jobs, more growth, and more prosperity for all Canadians. However, Mr. Speaker, the fact remains, in the speech from the throne, there were exactly 0 words dedicated to agriculture. Zero words explaining this government's plan for an agreement on the Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement. But of course, we probably know why that's the case, because agriculture is a lucrative resource. And the Prime Minister made it quite clear in his remarks in Davos what he thinks of Canada's resources and the innovative, world-renowned people who work in those industries. Perhaps that is also why the speech from the throne did not include any plans to complete critical infrastructure in our energy sector, projects such as the Energy East pipeline. This government remains frighteningly silent on its position on Energy East, a project that will create well-paying and vital jobs for the Canadian economy. For example, last week when Montreal area mayors spoke out against Energy East pipeline before the project has even been tabled, the Prime Minister had an outstanding opportunity to stand up and state emphatically how vital this project is, not only to Alberta's economy, but to Canada's. The Liberal government has trivialized the importance of the natural resource sector, even though it makes up 20% of Canada's nominal GDP, equaling more than $160 billion annually. But there's nothing trivial about the thousands of people who have lost their jobs in Alberta. There's nothing trivial about the families who are losing their homes, their businesses, and their dignity. Mr. Speaker, I met with a business owner in High River recently. He was nearly in tears as he struggled to find ways to save his small welding business. He's kept his staff on for as long as he could despite not having any work in the oil field. He met his payroll by using his line of credit. But once that maxed out, he had to lay off his entire staff, including 10 welders. That's 10 families in a small rural community who are looking for work. And that has a vital impact and a profound impact on our small rural communities. Now, this is just one of a dozen stories I'm sure many of my colleagues have heard from around Alberta, where the mood is one of feeling abandoned and fear. And if the Liberal government remains silent, this is only going to get worse. Groups are predicting another 185,000 job losses in Canada's energy sector in 2016, 125,000 of those in Alberta alone. Mr. Speaker, they may not like to admit it, but this is a crisis. The Liberal government needs to face reality and get involved. We cannot control oil prices, and I'm not making that argument, but we can take steps to mitigate the damage. We can avoid policies such as a federal carbon tax, which will further harm the oil and gas sector. We can renew investor confidence by supporting projects such as the Energy East pipeline, which will give Canadian producers access to new markets. And again, this will not only benefit Alberta. It is estimated construction on the Energy East pipeline alone will create 1,200 full-time jobs in Alberta, but another 14,000 across Canada. The Energy East pipeline is an opportunity to get Canadian products to Tidewater and increase our market access in an environmentally safe and sustainable way. Pipelines are not greenhouse gas intensive, and they're the safest way to transport oil with a 99.99% safety rating. It is under this Conservative government's leadership that the Pipeline Safety Act was introduced, ensuring a world-class pipeline safety regime. Energy East can replace the need to import foreign crude oil into Quebec and Atlantic Canada with a secure source of Canadian crude oil. Currently, 630,000 barrels of oil a day, 630,000 barrels a day are imported to Quebec and Atlantic Canada for places like the Middle East and West Africa, places that are not exactly world-renowned for their environmental stewardship. In contrast, Energy East will transport Canadian oil extracted under Canadian standards, creating Canadian jobs and raising revenue for essential Canadian social projects and infrastructure. Yet this Liberal government does not bat an eye at foreign oil tankers in the St. Lawrence or 8 billion litres of raw sewage being dumped in our seaway, but it turns up its nose at Canada's own natural resources. The Conservative record on supporting the natural resource sector is strong and will continue to do so. Mr. Speaker, whether it's extracting bitumen from the oil sands, mining coal in the rugged Rocky Mountains, or growing canola in the harsh prairies, our tenacity, ingenuity, and unmatched work ethic has led to incredible achievements in technology, innovation, and environmental stewardship right here in Canada. Hopefully this little government will come to realize Canadians, we're already very proud of what is beneath our feet. And we are already well known around the world for what is between our ears. And I hope they will also stand up shoulder to shoulder with our resource sector and show just how proud they are as well.